Hello everyone and welcome to today's lecture. So today we are going to cover various topics. It will be not restricted to any one topic, but we will be covering a lot of topics, a lot of practical questions. I will be explaining you how to write an answer, what are the things you should focus upon while writing the answer, do's and don'ts, and a lot of things we will be discussing today. Okay, so let's start. Okay, now as I told you, this is the practical scenario wherein we will be covering questions from all the topic randomly. So this will again give us a clarity about the topics, contents. Plus I will be covering questions from suggested past papers, mock test papers, RDPs, MCQ booklets. So from everywhere I'll be covering the questions, so that you can get more and better understanding of the topic, and you can understand how to basically write an answer for that particular question. Okay, let's start with the first question for today. So the first question is, APE and Associates Chartered Accountants are statutory auditor for XP Limited for last 4 years. XP Limited is engaged in manufacturing and marketing of FMCG goods in India. During 21-22, the company has diversified and commenced providing software solutions in the area of e-commerce in India as well in certain European countries. APE and Associates, while carrying out the audit for the current financial year, came to know that the company has expanded its operation to a new segment as well as new geography. APE and Associate does not possess any necessary expertise and infrastructure to carry out the audit of this diversified business activities and accordingly wishes to withdraw from the engagement and client relationship. Discuss the issue that needs to be addressed before deciding to withdraw. Okay. Now, whenever you are trying to attempt a question or trying to like there is a question you want to answer it, first of all decide what will be the the topic around which or you need to write an answer. Like I have chosen purposefully this first question. Now about which thing you will write in this answer, what you will write. So what is asked first of all? So if you see, discuss the issues that need to be addressed before deciding to withdraw. Now they are asking you to discuss the issue. What you will write? Anyone? So what you will write with response to this particular answer question? Come on, guys. About what you will write here. Like, okay, what topic you will build your answer. First of all, rather than going to the answer, first tell me the topic. Good, Janvi. Come on, guys. Around what topic you will build your answer here, or what about which particular so something it's written about the question talking about diversifying new business. Firm doesn't have that much expertise and infrastructure to carry out the audit. Okay, so how and how will you write the answer for this question? Like, okay, what you will write about which topic? Come on, guys, quickly. Okay, good Sumit, good Viraj, good Namrata. Okay, so let me explain you about the answer first. Okay, now let's go to the question. Now, if you see, you will get most of the times clues of your answer within the question itself. Now, if you see here, the APM associate does not possess necessary expertise and infrastructure to carry out the audit of this diversified business activities and accordingly wishes to withdraw from the engagement and the client relationship. Okay. Now, here it's talked about, we are talking about expertise and infrastructure of a particular firm. Now, if you remember, when we discussed on SQC1 or even SA220, okay, at that particular point in time, we discussed about, before accepting the engagement, what are the things that we are required to, look for. Okay. At that particular point in time, the audit firm needs to understand whether they have skill, competency, to deliver that particular project, whether they have appropriate resources, then only they should accept the engagement. Otherwise, they should not accept the engagement. And if you can correlate from that, like, okay, here the same thing is being asked, like, okay, necessary expertise and infrastructure to carry out the audit. If that is a scene, we can correlate, okay, the same is here and there, like correlation can be, brought into, then I need to, point out other things, like discuss the issues that need to be addressed before deciding to withdraw. Now, what are the things that I need to, do before I decide to withdraw? That is also something coming from your standards, only various standards which is there. Okay, even SQC1 also. What are the things you need to do when you are deciding to withdraw? Okay. So, basically, if we see the answer, like, okay, we have seen this particular paragraph, like acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagements. As per SQC1, okay, the firm should establish policies and procedures for acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement, designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that it will undertake or continue relationship or engagement only when it is competent to perform engagement and has capability, time and resource to do so. Now, when a particular firm decides to withdraw, they need to address the following issues. The following issues are basically whenever you try to, you decide to withdraw, the things that you will do is, one, you will communicate with the management. Okay. Why you want to withdraw, or those charged with governance, that, okay, this is the reason why we want to withdraw. So we'll communicate with the appropriate level of management or those charged with governance, okay, about the relevant facts, circumstances, okay, why we want to withdraw, what is the background about, withdrawal and everything. So if you see, discussing with the appropriate level of clients management and those charged with governance regarding appropriate action that the firm might take based on relevant facts and circumstances. Then, if the firm determines it's appropriate to withdraw, discussing with the appropriate level of client management, okay, for the reason of withdrawal, considering whether there's a professional regulatory requirement, okay, whether there's a professional regulatory or legal requirement. Over here, you can also, discuss about see, as of now in the question, it's a XP Limited, okay. Now, XP Limited is given, but it is not given that, okay, it's a listed company or not. Okay, accordingly, you can, frame your answer. If it was a listed company, then you can bring the circular issued by SEBI with respect to the recognition. So you can, provide detail for that particular circular also. So considering the legal requirement, documenting significant issues, consultations, if you have any taken for the withdrawal from the engagement and conclusions of those consultations. And accordingly, you need to address these issues before you withdraw from the client engagement. Now, in this answer also, we usually see here you need to discuss. Now, if you want to, if something, in an answer, if in question it is said, okay, you need to discuss, then you need to provide first the detail from where you are coming, what is the provision, okay, which you want to, bring into someone's attention over here, okay. Then you explain the case and then you discuss whatever points are there. So by this way, you create a flow in your answer. Like, okay, I have provided the provision. I have provided, discussed the subject matter about which I am going to speak. I have provided the case and I have provided the linkage of both. Okay. And then I will discuss the areas or points which are there. So by this way, you will create a flow. So this is how you can, give the answer to particular this question, and we'll see more questions going forward. But this is how it is, the answer is. Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Okay. So if no further doubts, yeah, there is one question. Can we provide reference to Caro 2020? Any specific clause, Janvi, you are referring here for the Caro 2020 that you want to refer to? Uh, so another question is, can we provide the facts first? See, if you'll provide the facts first, so those are already in the question. Okay. I generally do not prefer that way, providing the facts, because it tends to be, sometimes repetition of the same question. So whatever written in the question, you are starting with that only. So it's sometimes, appears to be the repetition. So I'll suggest, start with the provisions and, the topic around which you want to speak, you want to write, and then you go for that. Because you have a provision or you have a topic, you compare and, correlate with the scenario, whichever is there in the picture. Once you correlate the scenario, okay, you have a provision, you have a scenario, you can correlate, now you can proceed further. And that will, give more clarity in that case. Sumit, any specific clause you want to, from professional ethics want to quote here? Anything specific you want to look for? Because see, the best answer here is this one only, SQC1, and the points which are there. Usually professional ethics will come into the picture when there is, something, the accountant, professional accountant is, guilty of professional misconduct. Here he is not a guilty of professional misconduct. So accordingly, I don't think so the professional ethics will come into the picture. Any doubt, guys? No? Okay, so if no doubts, then let's proceed to the next question. Okay, I'll just zoom in. During the audit of Star Limited, a company engaged in the production of paper. The auditor receives certain confirmation for the balances of trade payable outstanding in the balance sheet through external confirmation by negative confirmation request. Okay, so they got the confirmation. They got the confirmation, but through negative confirmation request. In the list of trade payables, there are numbers of small balances except one which is old outstanding of rupees 20 lakh, for which no confirmation was received. Comment with respect to the standards on auditing relating to the confirmation process and how to deal with the non-receipt of confirmation. Now here within the question itself, you have been given the topic. Okay, this is the particular topic about which you need to frame your answer. So whenever these kind of scenarios are there, it is beneficial for you only. Like you have the details. Like you need to comment with respect to standards on auditing. Plus there is something specific in the question, like external confirmation process. So from there you can correlate the answer, like okay, about which standard it is being discussed about, or what is the topic, like question on which standard. So from there you can correlate something with respect to the standard, and then you can write the answer. Okay, now let's discuss the answer for this particular one. So how do you, for example, in this scenario, first comment on the process of the confirmation. So what do you think about the confirmation process? Sorry. Yeah. So there are two things asked. If you see, there is an end. So before end, like this particular para, comment with respect to standards of auditing relating to the confirmation process, and that is the second part, how to deal the non-receipt of confirmation. So there are two things which are asked in the particular question, and that's why it's very important you read the question appropriately. Sometimes people only look into the last line, how to deal with the non-receipt of confirmation. They do not write anything about the confirmation process, which is specifically asked, where you need to comment upon. So you need to read the question appropriately. Okay, what is specifically asked in the question, and then you need to answer it. So let's answer this particular first question. Comment with respect to the standards on auditing relating to the confirmation process. Now there is a confirmation process which has been followed in this question. What do you think about that? Sometimes questions can be blend of 2-3 chapters. That is perfectly, yeah, that can be there at that particular point in time. If you do not have specific questions being asked, then you need to decide upon which topic it is, and accordingly you need to write an answer. But most of the time the things are within the question itself, for which you need to answer. The scenario, case scenario, or some hints will be there within the question itself. You need to pick it up that one, and accordingly you need to answer. So here, comment on this confirmation process. What do you think about the confirmation process over here? Come on, guys. What do you think about the confirmation process here? Is there any problem with the confirmation process? Is there any problem with the confirmation process which is being discussed here? Good, Janvi. Very good. Come on, guys. Is there any issue with the confirmation process? You need to comment first upon the confirmation process which is being followed in the current case. So what is the problem with the current confirmation process? So what is the problem do you think is there with respect to the current confirmation process? Think about, the discussions that we had already on this particular standard. We have already discussed this particular area in our previous lectures. Accordingly, you need to think about, okay, what could be the, confirmation process that is required to be followed and what is the current scenario. Okay, good, Namrata. See, if you can see in the question itself, okay, in the question itself, there are two things which are already provided and given. Number one, about the confirmation process, that what type of confirmation they have followed. Number two, about the non-receipt of one confirmation. First of all, the first question deals with the confirmation process they have followed. The type of confirmation, basically. Now, if you have seen SA 505, the relevant standard which will be applicable over here, there are two types of confirmations: positive, negative. Negative confirmations gives you the less amount of evidence, less persuasive evidence with respect to a particular area. Now, considering the trade payables, where I need more evidence, I should not be using negative confirmations, rather I should be using positive confirmations. If I want to confirm the vendor balances, trade payable balances, rather than negative balance, I need to use positive confirmation. Reason: because negative confirmations, they do not mean that, okay, if you have not received a reply for a negative confirmation, that doesn't mean it's an issue. Okay, if you have not received a reply for a negative confirmation, that could be a scenario, okay, where the person might have not received a confirmation, might is not interested to reply upon, but that doesn't mean there is an issue. So accordingly, you should send a positive confirmation in these cases where you get more evidence and more required evidence for that particular area. Okay, so rather than using negative confirmation process, they should have more of positive confirmation process to get more persuasive audit evidence out of that. And not receipt of, we'll come to that particular point. Okay. So this is about the confirmation process. Considering the important area, we should use the positive one. Now coming to the second area, how to deal with the non-receipt of confirmation. So you have non-receipt of 20 lakh rupees. So there was a trade payable with the balance of 20 lakh for which you had not received any confirmation. Now it was a negative confirmation, but you have not received it. So what you will do? What do you think about this? How to deal the non-receipt of confirmation of rupees 20 lakh where you send a negative confirmation request? So how will you write that particular answer, or how will you, deal with this particular situation? So whenever you are, going to write an answer, think, okay, you particular yourself, if you are into that situation, how will you deal with that? Based on the standards, based on the knowledge you have gained, based on the, understanding of the topic. How to deal the non-receipt of this particular confirmation? Namrata, I'll come to your question, why positive one? Because the answer to this particular question lies on the second one, how to deal with the non-receipt of confirmation. So how will you deal with the non-receipt of confirmation of 20 lakhs, okay, which is an old outstanding, where you shared a negative confirmation request? Come on, guys. Good, Janvi. How will you deal the non-receipt of confirmation of rupees 20 lakh, which was the old outstanding balance, and you shared a negative confirmation request? Come on, guys. How will you deal with the non-receipt of confirmation? See, this is a question which was asked in exam. Okay, for the 5 marks. What you will write for 5 marks? Okay, let us see the answer. So again, if there are two questions, if there are two topics about which it is being asked, you need to separately write one by one. Like for example, some people will start with how to deal with the non-receipt of confirmation first, and then they will write about the confirmation process. See, that is also not a wrong way, but I'll say not an appropriate way. If you have been asked to comment with respect to the confirmation process first, write it about that particular thing, and then you can write about how to deal with the non-receipt of confirmation. That will be more appropriate for a reader of answer also to understand what you have written. Okay. So in that case, you will have a flow to the answer, plus you can, the person who is reading the answer will also understand what you have written. Now, coming to the answer. See, again, whenever you start writing an answer, if there is a particular provision, if there is a particular essay in picture, if there is a section, something, if there is something to quote, please do that. Same where, in the same case, for example, we have essay 5052 quote external confirmations. So I'll write about, okay, as per as external confirmations, negative confirmation is a request that confirming party respond directly to the auditor only if the confirming party disagrees with the information provided in the request. Now, why I am providing the definition of negative confirmation? Because it has been asked has been asked by the question that I need to comment on the confirmation process wherein they have used negative confirmation request for trade payables outstanding in the balance sheet. So first I'll explain, okay, what is negative confirmation and what are the drawbacks of negative confirmation if I want to comment. So then the drawback is negative confirmation provide less persuasive audit evidence than positive confirmation. Failure to receive a response to a negative confirmation request does not indicate receipt by the intending confirmed party. Sorry. Of the confirmation request or verification of the accuracy of information contained in the request. Okay. That means that if you do not receive a confirmation, that doesn't mean that, whatever there in the balance is appropriately fine. So negative confirmation is if the party disagrees, then only they will reach out to you. If the party doesn't reach out to you, that doesn't mean that, everything is fine. It could be the scenario that they might have not received, or they might have ignored, they might have missed out. There are a lot of things. So that is the second drawback I am referring over here. Accordingly, a failure of a confirming party to respond to a negative confirmation request provides significantly less persuasive audit evidence than does a response to a positive confirmation. So same way, I'm just providing the drawbacks of the negative confirmation process because I am asked to comment upon the confirmation process. Confirming parties may also more likely to be respond indicating their disagreement with a confirmation request when the information in the request is not in their favor, and less likely to respond otherwise. Okay, again, another drawback of my negative confirmation. So till now, what I was asked to comment, I have provided a background on the confirmation process, wherein I have listed down some drawbacks of negative confirmation. Okay. Then the second question comes is how to deal the non-receipt of confirmation. Then I'll first of all, okay, I'll explain the case. What is the scenario is that one of the old outstanding 20 lakh has not sent the confirmation on the credit balance. So we have not received the confirmation. In that case, what we can do? So for that, auditor may examine subsequent cash disbursements, other records such as goods received notes. Further, non-response of negative confirmation does not mean that there is some misstatement, as negative confirmation request itself respond to the auditor only if the confirming party disagrees with the information provided in the request. So first I provide, okay, what is the steps that I need to take in case of non-receipt of confirmation, and then I discuss, because it was a negative confirmation request process, non-receipt of a confirmation is not an issue. Because in negative confirmation, the party confirms when there is a disagreement. So accordingly, I answer non-receipt of confirmation. Clear? Clear with the answer, that how the answer has been given for this particular question and how you need to write the answer. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Any doubt with respect to the answer? No? Okay. If no, then let's proceed to the next question for today. Again, Mr. P, a chartered accountant, did not maintain books of account for his professional works on the ground that his income is assessed under Section 44 ADA of the Income Tax Act. Comment with reference to the Chartered Accountant Section 1949 and schedules thereto. Pretty simple and straightforward. You have the topic around which you need to build your answer. You need to, answer the question. So you need to comment with reference to Chartered Accountant Act and schedule thereto. So by this way, you can identify the topic. Now you just need to see the question and correlate with the topic and give the answer. So tell me, what would be the answer here? You need to comment where a chartered accountant has not maintained books of account because he was assessed under Section 44 ADA. That's a presumptive key. Come on, guys. What would be your answer in the current case? What would be your answer in the current case, guys? So he has, disclosed his income under Section 44 ADA, which is presumptive. And accordingly, he has claimed that he is not required to maintain books of account. Do you identify any observation or issue with respect to this? Come on, guys. Do you identify any issue with respect to this? Chartered accountant did not maintain books of account because he has assessed his income under Section 44 ADA. What do you think? Do you think it is fine or it is not? How will you answer this particular question? How will you answer this particular question? Good, Namrata. Very good. So based on the topic which is given over here in the question itself, you need to correlate the, the particular case scenario, and then you need to think of the answer. Now here we are being, asked about maintaining books of accounts. Is there anything in the Chartered Accountants Act or schedule there to with respect to maintaining books of accounts? Is there any requirement in the Chartered Accountants Act with respect to maintaining books of accounts? If yes, then we need to refer to that requirements, and what are those requirements, then we need to accordingly answer the question. So what are those requirements, guys? Good, Namrata. Okay. Okay, so let's see the answer here. Basically, if you see the Chartered Accountants Act and schedule there too. So as per the Council General Guidelines, okay, as per the Council General Guidelines, Chapter 5, which states that the member of the institute in practice or firm of chartered accountant where he is a partner shall maintain and keep in respect of his or its professional practice proper books of account. Okay. Now with respect to member of institute in practice or a firm of chartered accountant, here in the current case, if you see, he has not maintained, referring to section 44 ADA, but he has not looked into maintenance of books of account regulations or Council General Guidelines of which are specified in Chapter 5. Okay, and the chartered accountant failed to comply with those Council General Guidelines. Accordingly, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. And if you see the Council General Guidelines itself, they say you need to maintain, including a cash book, a ledger, at least for your proper books of account. So here in the question, I'm referring to Council General Guidelines. Okay. So first I need to quote that particular Council General Guidelines 2008, Chapter 5 on maintenance of books of accounts. Then I need to explain that what is specified in that particular Council General Guidelines from here to here. I have specified. Accordingly, it does not matter whether the section 44 AD of income tax Act applies or not, and hence Mr. P is guilty of professional misconduct. So accordingly, I will answer my question. Okay, this is a scenario. In the current case, if I link the scenario with the current case, what will be the conclusion? And accordingly, Mr. P is guilty of professional misconduct. This is how the answer is. Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt? Now, okay, good. So the question is, like, one of the doubt is, we are referring to Council General Guidelines. Okay. So how this person is guilty of professional misconduct? He has not followed the Council General Guidelines. How we are linking it to the professional ethics one? Okay. So if you see, clause 1 of part 2 of second schedule. Okay, I'll just write it down for your reference. Clause 1, part 2, second schedule. This particular clause talks about a member of the institute, whether in practice or not, shall be guilty of professional misconduct if he contravenes any provision of this act or regulations or any guidelines issued by council. Okay. In the current case, the guidelines which are issued by the council, chapter 5, has not been followed. So he has contravened the council general guidelines. Accordingly, based on the clause 1, part 2 of second schedule, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, some of you are asked the question with respect to that, how to remember clause numbers. Like it's difficult to remember the exact clause number, which is, we want to refer into the question. See, I'll suggest the more you will practice based on that, the more you will learn about the clause number and everything. But if in case, by let's say worst scenario, that in case if you are not remembering any of the clause number, what I'll suggest is, whatever you remember, build your answer on that. Okay. Don't try to, write your answer with the wrong clause numbers. If you are, like not sure, okay, then what you can do is you can build your answer whatever you remember rather than writing it wrong. So accordingly, you need to write whatever you remember, but how to remember, that is something it's based on the practice of the questions that you will solve. So the more questions you will solve, the more you will remember the clause numbers. Any doubt? Council general guidelines are required to be followed. They are not something, you can say they are not recommendatory, they are mandatory to be followed. So council general guidelines are mandatory to be followed wherever, if there is an option, then it is fine. In most cases, you are required to follow where there is a clear cut, the requirement specified. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt? No? Okay. If no doubt, then let's proceed to the next question for today. Okay. So the question is, you have been appointed as an auditor of LOC Bank, a nationalized bank. LOC Bank also deals in providing credit card facilities to its account holder. The bank is aware of the fact that there should be strict control over the storage and issuance of credit card. How will you evaluate the internal control system in the area of credit card operations of the bank? Now here you need to discuss about the internal control system in the area of credit card, issuance of credit card or credit card operations in the bank. Accordingly, you need to give the answer. So how will you evaluate the internal control system? Now, again, whenever there is a question that how will you evaluate, first of all, understand from which point of view you need to write. Majorly, it will be auditor's point of view. So here you have been appointed as an auditor. And you need to evaluate as an auditor the internal control system in the area of credit card operations of bank. So what things you will look for when you want to evaluate the internal control system? What are the things you will look for when you want to evaluate the internal control system in the area of credit card operations? Whenever you come up with any kind of situation or question where you need to, write a particular answer, okay, based on the, scenario, like, where you need to, like, for example, in the current case, you need to evaluate the internal control system. Think from the point of view that, okay, you are in that particular situation presently. Okay, you have been given to audit that particular area. You want to evaluate the internal control system. How will you do that at the particular client place, in real life? You can correlate yourself in the real life and then you can also try to answer. Good, Sumit. How will you deal or how will you evaluate the internal control system in the area of credit card operation? What you will check? Come on, guys. What you will check in order to evaluate the internal control system in the area of credit card operations for a bank? Namrata, with respect to your partner's question, let me take up after this particular question. I'll take up your route. Good journey, but again, this is a thing where you need to, focus upon the question what is being asked. Now you need to evaluate internal controls area, internal control system in the area of credit card operations. Okay. Your answer, or generally, most of the students write the answer with respect to, generalized way. Like, okay, they will define the objectives, materiality, plan the procedures. Okay, they will accordingly consider the risk. But here you've been asked to evaluate the internal control system. Means it's not the start or planning of the audit. You have been progress to that particular phase. Now you want to evaluate the internal control system. So here you need to be more specific with respect to your answer. Let's say, for example, if I want to evaluate the internal control system, how do I evaluate the internal control and the whole system together? I need to write specifically. Because, why specifically? Because there is a specific question on the credit card operations. The area is mentioned, this credit card operations of bank. You need to answer your question from that specific area only. You need to answer your question from based on that specific area only. Come on, guys. Try to answer and try to put yourself at the current at the place of the auditor where you want to evaluate the internal control system on the credit card operations, and what are the things you will do to evaluate the internal control system of credit card operations. Okay, let us see the answer. Now again, when I'm writing the answer, first of all, if it is being asked that how will you evaluate the internal control system, you need to, when you are writing answer, you will state that okay, the auditor should evaluate the internal controls in the area of credit card operation of the bank as under. Okay, just to provide the background, what you are going to, what the auditor is required to do. Okay, so first of all, effective screening of the applications with reasonably good credit assessment. Okay, so at the time of credit card issuance, there should be strict control over the storage and issuance of credit card. So you'll see, okay, how the credit card are being stored and issued. Then there should be a system whereby merchant confirm the status of unutilized limit of a credit card holder from the bank before accepting the settlement. In the case the amount to be settled exceeds a specified percentage of total limit of the card holder. So if there is a settlement required, okay, then there should be a process where whereby a merchant confirm the status of unutilized limit of a credit card. Then there should be a system of prompt reporting by the merchants of all settlement accepted through the credit card. Otherwise, it will be if there is a delay in the settlements. Okay, if I have used the credit card but it is not reflecting timely, then I have an opportunity to reuse the credit card, the same limit again. Let's say, for example, I have a limit of 1,000 on my credit card. If today I swipe the card somewhere, but it is not getting reflected at the same point in time. Means I have another 1,000 rupees. I can spend more 1,000 rupees till the time the whole transaction get reflected in the credit card. So prompt reporting by the merchants. Reimbursement to merchant should be made only after verification and validity of the merchant's acceptance of the card. So till the time transaction is not complete, you should not reimburse to the merchant. All reimbursement, gross of commission should be immediately charged to the customer account. As and when I swipe, transaction accepted, the bank reimbursed to the merchant, the amount should be charged to my account. There should be a system to ensure that the statements are sent regularly and promptly to the customer. There should be a system to monitor and follow up customer payment. Payments overdue beyond a reasonable period should be identified and attended carefully. For defaulting customer, credit should be stopped by informing merchants through periodic bulletins as early as possible to avoid increased loss. There should be a system of periodic review of credit card holders' account. On this basis, limit of customer may be revised. If necessary, the review should also be include determination of doubtful amounts and provision in respect thereof. So this is how you can evaluate the internal control system over the credit card operation. Now, to evaluate the internal control system, okay, these are the internal controls placed on the process of the credit card operations. Now again, that is the credit card operations, not only the issuance of credit card. It is issuance, storage, follow-up and everything. So whenever I am writing the answer, I need to see which particular area or which particular, topic it is there on which I need to write the question. If it was credit card issuance instead of operations, then answer would have been different. If it would have been credit card, follow-up or doubtful credit cards or something like that, answer would have been different. But it is an operation which covers everything. I'll write an answer accordingly. And for example, if you might have some third area which is not listed here, that means it doesn't mean that it's wrong. If you have some third area which is not listed here, you can write in your answer till the time it is related to the credit card operations, and with the help of which you can evaluate the internal control system. Clear? Any doubt with respect to this? So don't directly start writing your answer in the bullet points. Okay, there should be effective screening or something. First, write some, a line or two to explain. Okay, these are the areas that the auditor needs to look into to evaluate the internal control system, and then you list down your points appropriately. Any doubt? Okay. Now, there was a doubt with respect to this particular question, wherein the doubt is if there is a chartered accountant firm where there are 5 partners and the firm has maintained books of account, okay, of 4 partners, but they have not maintained books of account of 1 partner, then is it fine? See, the wordings of Council General Guideline, what it says that if a chartered accountant in practice or a firm of chartered accountant of which he is a partner fails to maintain and keep in respect of his or its professional practice proper books of account, now it is applicable to each and every partner of that chartered accountant firm. Okay. So if a chartered accountant who is a partner in a firm, if he does not maintain the books of account, he will be held guilty of professional conduct. So if even the 1 partner is missing, then that 1 partner, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct because his books of account are not being maintained. Clear? I hope, Namrata, I have answered to your query. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? No? Okay. Let's proceed to the next question then. Okay. NR Limited, a leading manufacturing of kids garment, has decided to acquire TP Limited. TP Limited is currently engaged in the manufacturing of ladies garments. NR Limited entrusted you to carry out the due diligence and value TP Limited. The valuation of TP Limited is dependent on future maintainable sales of the company. Discuss the factors that you would consider in assessing the future maintainable sales of TP Limited. Now, whenever there is a question like this, okay, understand the topic first, based on which you need to answer. So here you are doing due diligence and you want to value TP Limited. To value the TP Limited, the valuation is dependent upon sales of the company, future maintainable sales. So accordingly, what things you will consider, okay, the factors that you need to consider in assessing the future maintainable sales. So you need to list down the factors, okay, that are required to be considered for sales. So what are the factors on which the sales is dependent? Kind of you need to give the answer accordingly. So which are the factors on which the sales would be dependent, the future maintainable sales? So you need to correlate the factors with the sales. Okay, these are the factors which can influence sale of any entity, and then you need to give the answer. Come on, guys. What are those factors? Which are those factors, guys? Based on which you can say, okay, these are the factors which can affect the sale of the entity, future maintainable sale. Which are those factors? Good, good, Janvi. Come on, guys. Which are those factors based on which you think, a sale, future maintainable sale of a company will be dependent? Good, Namrata. Very good. Come on, guys. Correct, Sumit. Very good. So let's see the answer in the current case. Okay. Again, when I'm writing the answer, I'll start by introducing, okay, what are the things that, a particular person is required to look based on which, the sale is dependent upon. So in assessing the turnover, which the business would be able to maintain in future, the following factors should be taken into account. Okay. And which are those factors? Trend, marketability, political and economic consideration, and competition. Now there could be more factors, socio-economic factors. Okay, there could be more, and you can write it if you have that. That is perfectly fine. Now the point is, can we write only factors, or we need to explain the factors also? Okay. So here it is, discuss the factors that you would consider in assessing the future maintainable sales of TP Limited. You need to discuss the factors, not only list down. There is a difference between both. And accordingly, you need to write the answer. So I can only write, okay, trend. But am I discussing the factor in detail? Answer is no. So if I'm writing the trend, I need to discuss what is the factor basically. I am not just listing down the factors, I am discussing it also. So I need to discuss the factor in detail. Okay, if I'm talking about trend, then what is trend? Why trend? Whether in the past the sales have been increasing consistently, or they have been fluctuating, a proper study of this phenomena should be made. Is it possible to extend the sales into new market, or these have been fully exploited? Product-wise estimation should be made. If I talk about marketability, then political and economic considerations. Are the policies pursued by the government likely to promote the extension of the market for goods to other countries? Whether the sales in the home market are likely to increase or decrease as a result of various emerging economic trends. So along with the trends, I'm discussing also. I'm just not listing down. And accordingly, I'm writing the answer. So you need to focus upon the word also, like, what is being asked. Okay, what is being asked? I am only asked to list down the factors, or I am asked to discuss the factors in detail. And accordingly, you need to answer. Also, you need to consider the marks for which the question is there. Okay, what is the weightage of that particular question? And accordingly, you need to write the answer. Clear? I can write 10, factors, but am I discussing those 10 factors? That is important, because in question it is asked, you need to discuss it. Now, some people might, do a mistake writing that, okay, in assessing the turnover, the auditor should look into these factors. In the question, first check whether you are answering as an auditor or not. Okay, here you are performing the due diligence. You are not the statutory auditor. So don't answer each and every question from the point of view of a statutory auditor. Because if you are a statutory auditor, why will you assess future maintainable sales? Why will you do a valuation? If you are a statutory auditor, then why will you assess the future maintainable sales for the valuation purpose? So if there has been given in the question that, okay, you are the statutory auditor, then only write your answer from that point of view. That is also important. That's why I highlighted you are doing the due diligence and you want to value a particular company. You are not the statutory auditor. Clear with respect to this? Any doubt? Any doubt? No? Okay, let's take next question then. Mr. K has been appointed as a statutory auditor of SK Limited for issuing an opinion on the financial statement and internal controls over financial reporting for the year ended 31st March 2022. Under Companies Act 2013, guide Mr. K to prepare a checklist in the form of questions for testing internal control over cash and bank balance. When forming an opinion on ICFR, is it necessary for Mr. K to test the transactions only at balance sheet date? Again, when I reading the question, I'll focus what is being asked. Here there are two things asked. Guide Mr. K, okay, with respect to prepare a checklist in the form of questions for testing internal control over cash and bank process. Now cash and bank balance. Now if you see, there is a specific requirement over cash and bank. There is a specific requirement of question bank. So I need to answer my question in that way. So there is a specific requirement. So I need to guide with respect to cash and bank balances for checklist. So that is a checklist on which I need to guide. Okay. To form questions for testing of internal controls. So what questions you will suggest to Mr. K to enter into the questionnaire, which he can ask from the management or from the respective process owners to evaluate the internal controls? What are the questions that you will suggest to Mr. K to include to test the internal controls over cash and bank process? Now again, there could be a lot many questions, but you need to answer some questions which you think are could be important. Good, Janvi. Come on, guys. List down some questions that you think Mr. K should include in his checklist to test the internal control over cash and bank balances. So these questions Mr. K will ask to the process owner in order to understand the control environment over cash and bank balances. Come on, guys. What questions you would suggest to Mr. K that he should include in the form of questions for testing the internal control over cash and bank process? So let's say you want to go and test the internal controls over cash and bank process. What questions you would ask from that particular process owner? If you want to test a particular area, internal controls in that particular area, what you will ask? Whatever you will ask, you will suggest to Mr. K also. So first understand what you will ask with respect to that. With respect to the process, what you will ask from the process owner with respect to cash and bank balance. Correct, Namrata? Good, Namrata. Okay, let's see the answer in the current scenario. So, as a appointed auditor, okay, Mr. K should prepare a checklist for testing internal control over cash and bank process, okay, or cash and bank balance. Now, the questions that he can ask, okay, from the process owner, okay, or he can ask from that particular person who is looking after cash and bank balance can be like, for example, have you checked that the cashier is not responsible for opening the incoming mails? Have you checked whether the cashier does not authorize any of the ledgers because segregation of duties, does not authorize any expenditure or receipt, does not sign checks, take annual leaves regularly, inks and balances the cash books every day, whether physical cash balance, cash balance with the books figures daily at the end of the day, means physical balance tying with the book balance in the books, whether the cashier prepares monthly bank reconciliation statements, whether he holds no other funds or investments, whether he holds no unnecessary balance in the hand, whether he does not pay any money without looking into the compliance with proper procedure and due authorization, whether he has tendered proper security or executed a fidelity bond because he is handling the cash. So these are certain questions that Mr. K should include in his checklist, that he should ask with respect to the person who is looking after cash and bank balance. Okay. Now the second part of the question, when forming an opinion on the ICFR, Is it necessary for Mr. K to test the transaction only at the balance sheet date? So if you are testing some transactions with respect to forming an opinion on ICFR, are you required to test only at the balance sheet date, or you are required to test throughout the year? What you are required to do? Are you required to test at the balance sheet date, or are you required to test throughout the year? Good, Janvi. So, Namrata, with respect to the incoming mails, that's a segregation of duty part. Over there, why there is a segregation of duty? Because at times you might get some important information with respect to sometimes statements, sometimes information with respect to vendor, okay, or customer, that he is going to pay this much amount, or he has paid this much amount, or you could say this is the outstanding balance, some changes in the bank statement, or there could be a lot of things which could be part of the mails that are being received by the company. And because to maintain the segregation of duty, okay, it is necessary that the cashier should not have the access to the incoming mails. What if the customer is sending you the email that they have received the payment, but you just delete that email, and some do some fraud with the incoming payments from the customer? No one will come to know that the amount has been paid. Okay. Or for example, vendor is continuously mailing to the company that they have not received the payment, but somehow cashier was involved into a fraud and he siphoned the funds to somewhere else. Now, if he is responsible for opening the mails, then he can just remove the mails from the vendors, or from the customers. So that's why this is particular area which is of important concern, and that's why segregation of duty is necessary. Okay, guys. So to test the transaction, to give the comfort or opinion on the ICFR, is Mr. K required to test the transaction only at the balance sheet date? Good, Janvi, Sumit, Namrata. What do you think? Is Mr. K required to test the transaction only at the balance sheet date? If yes, then why? If no, then again, why? Why you need to provide the reason also for both yes and no. Come on, guys. Yes or no with the reason. I want with reason. Why you are saying yes or no? Come on, guys. Why yes or no? The reason. If you are saying no, that he is required to test throughout the year, then why? What is the reason behind that? Why can't I only test at the balance sheet date? Why I need to test throughout the year? Why do you think they are required to test throughout the year, not at the only the balance sheet date? No, no, Namrata. So the answer lies within the section itself, based on which you need to, the requirement is coming from. So if you read section 143, okay, 143(3)(I), there are two things in that particular clause has been asked to report by auditor needs to report. Okay. First thing is whether the company has adequate internal financial controls with reference to financial statement, and second is whether they are operating effectively. So the second point, which talks about operating effectiveness of such control, operating effectively. The operating effectiveness can be identified once you test the transactions throughout the year. I cannot say they were operating effective only by testing at the end of the period or at the balance sheet date. For this particular term, operating effectively, I need to test throughout the period. And hence, by testing only at the balance sheet date will not give me comfort over the operating effectiveness of a particular control. That's why I need to test throughout the year, not at a balance sheet date. So let's see the answer. In the given situation, Mr. K is statutory auditor of SK Limited for issuing opinion on the financial statement and internal control over financial reporting. Okay. He should surely test transaction during the financial year and not just at the balance sheet date. Though the extent of the testing at or near balance sheet date may be higher, from the discussions given above, it can be concluded that it would not be necessary for Mr. K to test the transaction only at the balance sheet date. So the question was, when forming an opinion on ICFR, is it necessary for Mr. K to test the transaction only at the balance sheet date? Answer is no. And why? You need to explain it accordingly. So the question is how to test throughout the period. You need to pick up the sample for the performance of the control throughout the period, not for only performance of control at the balance sheet date. That's how you test a control at throughout the year. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt with respect to this? Yes, there should be periodically review of the cash counts. Then only you can say there are controls behind the cash count. Any doubt? No? Okay. If no doubts, then let's take a quick 10-minute break, and after the break, we'll gather back. Okay? Let's take a quick 10-minute break. the lecture. Okay, so let's continue with this session and discuss some more questions. So let's see this question now. Messrs PQR Auto, a partnership firm, is engaged in manufacturing of automobile spare parts, having factory at Surat. CAS was appointed as a tax auditor of PQR Auto for the assessment year 22-23. While carrying out the tax audit under Section 44 AB of the Income Tax Act, CAS observes the following. Interest of rupees 50,000 paid to vendor X, who was registered under MSME Act 2006. Interest payment of rupees 10,000 was incurred in relation to earnings exempt interest income from tax relief bonds. Sum of rupees 1 lakh was received from Mr. X for sale of one plant and machinery, but due to non-compliance of one of the conditions as specified in the contract with Mr. X, PQR Auto forfeited rupees 1 lakh during AY 22-23 as per forfeiture clause mentioned in the contract. Kindly guide CAS in the reporting about transaction under the relevant clauses in Form 3CD. Now, in this question, you already have under which particular area you need to report this. So, Form 3CD is something where we need to focus upon and their relevant clauses. So, you have the specific question. Okay, you need to just correlate relevant provisions where you need to report to. So, you can do a direct correlation with the topic here. So, okay, let's see the first one. Interest of rupees 50,000 paid to vendor X, who was registered under MSME Act 2006. Where will you report this? Where will you report this, guys? Where will you report interest of rupees 50,000 paid to MSME vendor? Where can I report this particular observation that I have identified? Come on, guys. Where will you report this particular matter? Interest of rupees 50,000 paid to MSME vendor. You need to report in Form 3CD. Where you will report? Under which clause you will report? Okay, good, Janvi. I am talking about the first point, interest of rupees 50,000 paid to vendor X, who was registered under MSME Act 2006. Under which clause you will report this particular thing? So you know the topic. Okay, we are required to report under Form 3CD. It's related to the tax audit. Now, under which relevant clause of Form 3CD you will report? If there is a requirement of reporting. If no requirement of reporting, then you need to, specify, no reporting requirement is there for this particular clause or this particular observation. You need to specify the clause number. Come on, guys, quickly. Under which clause you will report this particular observation? Interest of rupees 50,000 paid to vendor X who were registered under MSME Act 2006. Pretty much easy. You just need to correlate with the clause. There is nothing much. And this was asked, this question was asked for the 5 marks. So, is there any clause in Form 3CD which talks about payment to MSME vendor? Is there any clause in Form 3CD, guys? Remember the lecture on the tax audit Form 3CD that we have discussed, already covered in past. Do you think is there any clause with respect to payment to any MSME vendor? Okay, so basically it will be reported under clause 22 of Form 3CD. So clause 22 of the Form 3CD, where you are required to report an amount, particulars of amount of interest inadmissible under section 23 of MSME. I'll come on the detailed answer when I will be explaining how to write the answer of this particular question. But as of now, it will be reported under clause 22 of Form 3CD. Okay. Let's move to the next point. Interest payment of rupees 10,000 was incurred in relation to the earning exempt income, exempt interest income from tax relief bonds. So 10,000 was incurred in relation to earning exempt income. Where will you report? In Form 3CD. Where will you report this particular question, observation? Where will you report this particular one? Come on, guys. You just need to just directly apply the provision. That's it. There is nothing much here. Under which clause you will report of Form 3CD? Okay, good, Namrata. But which clause? You need to refer the clause number over here. If you are writing answer for tax audit and Form 3CD related questions, you need to specify the clause number also. It's not like that you can just write an answer with respect to some area, but clause number is necessary because in the question itself it is asked what is the relevant clause under which you will report. If you have been asked clause number over here, then you need to mention it. Then you are required to mention the clause number. So under which clause you will report interest of rupees 10,000 was incurred in relation to earnings exempt interest income from tax relief bonds. This one. Okay. Are we required to remember clause number? Answer is yes, we are required to remember clause number. Whether in practical scenario, is it important for us to remember clause number? Trust me, in practical life also, you will get, instances, you will come into instances or, scenarios where it is very necessary to remember these important clause numbers. So it's not like that it's the clause number are irrelevant. They are relevant and they are also useful in practical life. Janvi, actually, I think the clause number that you have given is not correct for this particular one. For second one, this is not the correct clause number. Where you will report interest payment of rupees 10,000 that was incurred in relation to earning exempt income from tax relief bonds. Where will you report? Okay. So if I have to report this particular one, I'll report in clause 21H. Why? Clause 21H talks about amount of deduction inadmissible in terms of section 40A of Income Tax Act, 14A, in respect of expenditure incurred in relation to income which does not form part of your total income. So clause 21H will be the relevant clause where you need to report this. Now, third, sum of rupees 1 lakh was received from Mr. X for sale of one plant and machinery. But due to non-compliance of one of the conditions specified in the contract with Mr. X, PQR Auto forfeited rupees 1 lakh during the year 22-23 as per the forfeiture clause. Kindly see, you need to provide under which clause you will report this particular amount. Under which clause you will report this particular amount. Come on, guys. Under which clause you will report this particular observation? See, the way to remember the clause number is only by practicing. Trust me. There is no need to mug up clause numbers, because the more you will practice, by default, you will remember the clause number. Okay, this was the example. Let's say, for example, the first one, interest of 50,000. Okay, if you solve this example, if you see, okay, interest of 50,000 was paid to vendor X. I reported last time this into clause 22. Then accordingly, all such transactions, if there is any similar question which has came, which will come into the exam, you will remember, okay, it's similar to on that line, so it will go to same clause. Okay, Janvi. Come on, guys. Under which clause you will report this observation? Amount sum of rupees 1 lakh was received from Mr. X, but due to non-compliance, one of the conditions is specified in the contract, PQR Auto forfeited rupees 1 lakh during the AY 22-23 as per the forfeiture clause. Where will you report? Practice means that you need to solve more and more questions of your own. When I say solve, it doesn't mean that okay, you see the question, you see the answer, it's done. No. When I say solving the question and practicing, it means that take up the question, write your own answer, then match your own answer with the answer which is given, and then see where you went wrong. By this way, if you practice the questions, definitely you will learn things. You will remember things. It's a tendency that you remember. It is being said that the thing you will write, you will remember more than the reading. Okay. So we remember written things more than the things which we have read. That's why it's always important to write. So guys, for third observation, where will you report? I'll suggest at least give a try so that based on the try that you will give, at least you will remember, okay, I tried this clause, that's not the correct one. So by default, you will start learning, okay, this is not the correct one, then this could be the correct one. Okay, so basically, this particular observation is required to be reported under clause 29A. Okay. Now let me explain why for each and for 29A. Why not other clauses? Okay. So one by one, I'll take the clause which are being given into the answer. Someone referred clause 16, amount not credited to P&L account, being various items. I am not sure whether this amount has been credited to profit and loss account or not. That's why I cannot specifically say whether clause 16 will come into the picture or not. Okay. So if they have credited the amount into the profit and loss account, then by default clause 16 will not come into the picture. Someone quoted clause 17, transfer of land and building, but that is only applicable when there is an actual transfer. In the current case, there was a deal to transfer plant and machinery, not the land and building. Okay, that's why clause 17 will also not be applicable or will not come into the picture. Then the next answer that I received was clause 27. Now, if you see clause 27, basically talks about Senvet credit or prior period items or any such property and share of list of non-listed company. Okay, so if there are any such items, then only it will be reported in 27. Otherwise, it will not reported in 27. One, it's not related to Senvet. Second, it is not a prior period item. Third, it is not related to shares of non-listed company, because Messrs PQR Auto is a partnership firm. We are not talking about any shares. So that's why again clause 27 will not come into picture, and 28. Then someone said clause 32. Okay. Now again, clause 32 talks about brought forward depreciation and losses. Here there is no discussion on the depreciation as of now, because the asset is still there and we don't know the value and everything. And there is nothing about the depreciation. Okay. We even don't know where the 1 lakh rupees has been, posted, whether it was taken to the P&L account or adjusted in front of asset, we don't know. That's why we cannot say clause 32. Why clause 29A? Because 29A is specific for this amount forfeited where the negotiation has been failed, which refers to clause 9 of subsection 2 of 56. So, under Income Tax Act, section 56 to 9 talks about any sum or money received at an advance or otherwise in the course of negotiation for a transfer of a capital asset. If such sum is forfeited and the negotiation do not result in such transfer of capital asset, then it becomes part of your income from other sources. income chargeable under the head other sources. Section 56 to 9. Based on that, there is a reporting under clause 29A in form 3CD, which falls, exactly the same as a point number 3. That's why 29A. Now the question is, can we write clause without its subclauses? See, whenever there is a question, you need to write specific clause with subclause, because in form 3CD, there are various, subclauses for a particular clause. And if that is the case, then it will be, very difficult for the reader to understand. Okay, which subclause you are talking about? I can, talk, let's say, for example, clause 21. There are many subclauses in 21. Take it clause 31. There are not many subclauses. And each and every subclause is for different kind of reporting. So writing only clause is as good as not writing a clause. Trust me. So let's see the answer. How we need to write the answer. Now let's say, for example, we are aware of the clauses. Okay, but how to write it? See, first one, interest of 50,000 paid to vendor X who was registered under MSME Act. So, as per clause 22, we will first mention the clause. As per clause 22 of form 3CD of Income Tax Act, the tax auditor is required to state the amount of interest inadmissible under section 23 of the MSME Act 2006. Section 23, you need to provide a background about section 23, lays that interest payable or paid by the buyer in accordance with the provision of this act shall not be allowed at a deduction for the purpose of computation of income. Accordingly, CAS is required to report the payment of interest of 50,000 to vendor X who was registered under MSME under clause 22 of form 3CD. So first you explain the clause over here. What is the clause about? Once you explain the clause in detail, from here to till this particular point, okay, then you correlate with the current case. Again, correlation with the current case. And you then conclude. So it's not like that I just need to write, okay, clause 22. The auditor will report in clause 22. I need to explain why clause 22, why not any other clause. So whenever you are writing, I need to also explain why this particular clause. That is something, also being seen that it is missing and this is not being written. Okay. So whenever you are writing an answer with respect to this, specify which clause, specify why. If you want to, specify, if you are specifying a particular clause, then write it down why this particular clause. Okay. Let's see the second one. Again, same. We will first provide the background about the clause. As per clause 21H of form 3CD, the tax auditor is required to report about the amount of deduction inadmissible in terms of section 14A of Income Tax Act in respect of expenditure incurred in relation to income which does not form part of total income. Therefore, CAS, the auditor is required to scrutinize the expense account, particularly for the interest account, to check whether there is included any expense which is relatable to the exempt income. He is also required to note down the amount and mention against the clause. Thus, in the given situation, CAS is required to report the same in clause 21H of form 3CD. I'll mention the clause, then I'll report where they need to report it. Okay. Let me take you to the next one then. 29A. So as per clause 29A, whether any amount is required to be included as income chargeable under the head from income from other sources referred into 9 subsection 2 of section 56. If yes, to provide the nature of income and amount thereof. You need to explain what is the clause, which clause you are referring to, what is contained in that particular clause, and accordingly you need to then conclude with your answer. Any doubt? Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt, guys? So this is how you need to write an answer in this scenario. Okay, so there is one doubt related to another topic. So doubt is, suppose the auditor resigns after 45 days from the September quarter. So he has to issue audit report for the December ending quarter also. It will result in issuance of report by auditor for the first 3 quarters. So he is to issue report for the quarter ending March as well as the issue audit report for the first 3 quarters. Okay, very good question. Yes. So if an auditor resigns after 45 days of September quarter, then he needs to issue audit report for the subsequent quarter also. Okay. So he needs to issue report for September plus December because it's within 45 days of the December quarter. Now, if he is required to issue audit report for the December quarter, means he has issued audit report for the first 3 quarters, June, September, December. Now, if he has issued an audit report for the first 3 quarters, by default, he needs to complete for the March and the final audit report. So by this way, he has to issue, he will supposed to be issue all the reports. So your understanding is correct, Janvi. Any other doubt? Okay. If no other doubt, then let me proceed to the next question for today. Next question is, your firm has been appointed as a central statutory auditor of Nationalized Bank for the financial year 21-22. During the course of your audit team observed that a lump sum amount has been disclosed as a contingent liability collectively through the components, okay, are correctly identified. In respect of the contingent liability, the auditor is primarily concerned with seeking reasonable assurance that all contingent liabilities are identified and properly valued, and the audit firm intends to obtain a representation from the management. Highlight the points or checklists that are to be covered in the management representation. So you need to refer to the points that are required to be covered in management representation with respect to your contingent liabilities. So which points you will cover? So with respect to the contingent liabilities, what are the points that you will cover? Again, focus from which point of view you need to report. So first, you have been appointed central statutory auditor of a nationalized bank. Number 2, you need to report with respect to the contingent liabilities point or checklist that is to be covered in the management representation. So you need to look it from this particular point of view. Come on, guys. What you will cover here? Think about the contingent liability and then try to, think about the particular topic which is being asked. Okay, what you will do when you will see contingent liability? How will you, will like to take comfort on the contingent liability? Which all areas you will look with respect to the contingent liability? And if in that particular testing, if at any point in time, if you are referring to the management, if you are relying on the management, what are those areas where you want to take representation by the management? It is something, when you take a representation from management, it is something related to the management's responsibility. So what is the responsibility of management with respect to the contingent liability? What is the responsibility of management? You take representation where there is a management responsibility. You take representation that management has fulfilled their responsibility. So what is the responsibility that you are looking here with respect to contingent liabilities? Come on, guys. Absolutely correct, Janvi. Very good. So what are the responsibilities of management and how and on what points you will take a management representation? What points you would like to cover in your management representation? Where you want the management to provide you representation, okay, on what areas with respect to the contingent liabilities? We usually take representation where we have something with respect to the responsibilities of management. So what is the responsibility of management with respect to contingent liability? Absolutely correct, Namrata. Very good. Okay, let us see the answer. In respect of contingent liabilities, okay, the auditor is primarily concerned with the reasonable assurance that all contingent liabilities are identified and properly vetted. The auditor should obtain representation from management that all the off-balance sheet transactions have been accounted in the books of account, and when such transactions have taken place, means recording the transactions. Recording of transactions is the responsibility of management, and whether they have completed their responsibility or not, you need to take a representation from management. All the off-balance sheet transactions have been entered into after following due procedure laid down, following the policies and procedures. All off-balance sheet transactions are supported by underlying documents. All year-end contingent liabilities have been disclosed in the financial statement plus to auditor. Sorry. So all contingent liabilities either are being disclosed to the financial statement or have been disclosed to the auditor. That is a, you will take a representation from management. The disclosed contingent liability do not include any crystallized liability which are required, which are of the nature of loss, expense, and which therefore require creation of provision adjustment in financial statement. Means none of the liability, contingent liability, is an actual liability. Okay. So if they are actual liability, means you need to book it. But if they are contingent liability, then you can just show in the contingent liability. So you will take a representation from the management that okay, none of the liability, contingent liability, is actual liability which has already crystallized. The estimated amount of financial effect of contingent liabilities are based on the estimates in terms of accounting standard 29, including consideration of possibility of any reimbursement. This is the measurement criteria. So whether the contingent liability are measured appropriately or not, as per the applicable financial reporting framework, which is AS 29 or the relevant AS in that case. Okay. Then, in case of guarantees issued on behalf of bank directors, the bank has taken appropriate step to ensure the adequate and effective arrangement have been made, and so that the commitment would be met out of parties' own resource, and that the bank will not be called upon to grant any loan or advance to meet the liability consequent upon the invocation of the said guarantee, and no violation of Section 20 of Banking Regulation Act has arisen on account of such guarantee. So this is a specific requirement for my banks. And why I am required to report this reason? Because in your question itself, you are the central statutory auditor of a nationalized bank. So by default, if there is any requirement for the contingent liability for the bank, then you need to report the same. You need to disclose that also here. Such contingent liabilities will have not, which have not been disclosed on account of the fact that the possibility of their outcome is remote, including management's justification for reaching such a situation or such a decision in respect of those contingent liabilities, then they need to disclose that in their representation also. So these are the points that are required to be, taken from the management in the representation. Correct, Namrata. Basis information on which the contingent liabilities are recognized. So these are certain points. These are not the only points. You could come up with your own points and that will also be valid. So in cases where you need to highlight, points, checklists, you need to, discuss some points at that particular point in time. If you write your own points which are valid and relevant to the topic, yes, you will get marks. That's why I highlighted these particular areas like central statutory audit, nationalized bank, contingent liabilities. So your answer, if you are writing your own answer, if you are highlighting any other area that should be related to all these three, and if it's related to, any of these three, either central statutory auditor with respect to contingent liability, or a bank with respect to the contingent liability, or only contingent liability, still it is fine, you will get the marks. Any doubt with respect to this, guys? Any doubt? Any doubt with respect to this? Yes, so you can write your own points also, based on which you will get your marks appropriately. But it should be related to these topics. That's why I highlighted those particular points. That's why I particularly highlighted those points. Okay. If no further doubts, then let's proceed to the next question for today. CA Harry is appointed as a statutory auditor. Just a minute. CA Harry is appointed as a statutory auditor of Delist Limited for the financial year 21-22. Messrs Delist Limited is a listed entity as an NSE, and the financial statement are to be drawn up in compliance with the Ind AS. Messrs Delist Limited made certain fair value accounting estimate on complex financial instruments which are not traded in active and open markets. CA Harry is concerned with the identification and assessment of the risk of material misstatement for accounting estimate. Guide him with regards to the estimation making process adopted by the management with reference to the relevant accounting standard or relevant to the standards on auditing. Again, there are some keywords that you need to pick up from the question to understand on which you need to build your answer. Accounting estimates, estimate making process adopted by management, and relevant standards on auditing. So on these three, you need to build up your answer. You need to guide this CA Harry with respect to estimation process adopted by the management. So what is the estimation process adopted by the management? What you need to look into that. So what CA Harry should look with respect to the estimation process which is adopted by the management. Which area CA Harry needs to look into when it comes to the estimation process that is adopted by the management. If you want to see that, okay, whether the management has made appropriate accounting estimates, then what areas you will look into? Come on, guys. What areas you will look into when you want to check whether the accounting estimates made by management are appropriate or not? Good, Sumit, for the essay. That is absolutely correct, the essay number. But what areas you will look into? Come on, guys. Generally think of how estimates are made, and then you think, okay, what are the things or areas that are required to be looked into. This as I have discussed in my previous lecture on standards also. Correct, Janvi? Absolutely correct. Very good. Come on, guys. Good, Namrata. Very good. What areas you will look into with respect to the estimation making process? Estimation making process adopted by the management. So what things of understanding he needs to obtain with this, and if he is concerned with the risk assessment, then what things he needs to understand first with respect to the estimation making process in order to understand what are the risks within the estimation making process. Generally, how, okay, let me discuss this particular answer with respect to the thing that I took in that particular lecture only. So if I talk about estimation making process, let's go there step by step. If a management needs to make an estimate, first management will identify the area or the transaction where the estimates are required. Okay. If management identified a particular area, then my risk will be how management is identifying which area requires what level of estimation. So identification of areas is the first step, but same way there's a risk also whether management is identifying all the areas or not. Second, what is the requirement of financial reporting framework, whether the management is complying. So management will say, okay, once we identify the area, we comply with the financial reporting framework with respect to making the estimate. Then the question comes is, what is the financial reporting framework applicable to management, and what is the requirement of that financial reporting framework? Third, when management will make the estimate, they will use data, method, assumptions, expert. Now, when they use data, my concern will be whether the data is relevant or reliable, whether the method which is used is the appropriate method, consistently applied, whether the assumptions are used are reasonable, whether the expert used, then there again a question comes with respect to the expert, and then I will go SA 500. If management is making point estimate, then what is the previous year estimate? What was its actual outcome? I need to ask these questions, and that will be a risk for me. Okay. Whether the management has considered any other possible outcomes. If then why they rejected them? So these are certain questions or risk I can say that will be there in the management's estimation making process. And if you see the answer, it's on the same line. So the answer is, as per SA 540, auditing, accounting estimate, including fair value, accounting estimate and related disclosure, CA Harry shall obtain an understanding of the following in order to provide a basis for the identification and assessment of risk of material misstatement for accounting estimate. 1. The estimate making process shall adopted by management, including the method, include where the applicable model used in the making accounting estimate, relevant controls, whether the management has used an expert, the assumption underlying the accounting estimate, whether there has been or ought have been a change from the prior period in the methods for making the accounting estimate, and if so, why, whether and if so, how the management has assessed the effect of estimation uncertainty. So these are certain points that need to be understood with respect to the making accounting estimate. Understood? Any doubt with respect to this? That how an answer has been written? Again, when I'll write an answer, I'll first quote the relevant essay which is applicable in the current scenario, and then I will build up my answer. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt? Don't hesitate in asking the doubts. There is, no small or big doubt, or silly doubt or important doubt. If you have a doubt, please ask without any hesitation. And trust me, that will really help you, in understanding the topic, in understanding the concept. Any doubt, guys? No? Okay. If no doubts, then let's take a small question, and then let's see the answer for that particular question. Just a minute. Okay. So this is one question, MCQ. So the question is, ABC and company were appointed to conduct forensic audit of XYZ Limited. After successfully conducting the forensic audit, ABC company prepared its report for the appointing authority. A copy of the report was also shared by the board of directors of the company. In the report, forensic auditors enumerated the findings of the investigation, including a summary of evidence, a conclusion as to the amount of loss suffered as a result of fraud, and identification of those involved in the fraud. The report also covered the sections on the nature of assignment, scope, investigation, approach utilized, limitation, scope, and opinion. Upon receiving the report, the board of directors raised objection as to how the forensic auditor can mention the name of those who are involved in the fraud. You, as a forensic expert, guide whether it's appropriate to mention the details of the person who are involved in the fraud in the final report. And these are your given options. So select an appropriate option and tell me whether it is appropriate to mention the name of the person in the report that is, involving a fraud. Okay, there is one more, one or two doubts with respect to the previous question. So can we use financial instrument NDS reference? See, it is with respect to the estimation process. You need to answer it accordingly with respect to the estimation process. Okay, reference to the financial instrument can be given. There is no, bar on that, but yes, answer should be relevant to the question. So the second doubt is, if we quote wrong essay number, can we still get the marks? If you have quoted wrong essay number C and the rest of the content is right, then again, there are chances you will not get marks for that particular wrong quoting. Okay. So for the content which is right, definitely yes, you will get the marks, but for the wrong essay number, no. Do we need to read auditing pronouncement in detail, or we can just refer to your notes of class? There is no alternate of the study material. Trust me. There is no alternate, no notes, nothing. Even my notes also are not the alternative to the study material. They supplement or they complement the study material. But it's not an alternative of a study material. They complement to some extent. It will help you to understand to some extent, but they are not the alternative. Okay. Coming back to this particular question, you as a forensic expert, you need to guide whether you can mention the name of the person in your forensic report. Is it appropriate to mention the detail of person or not? Select the appropriate option. Select the appropriate option with respect to mentioning the name of the person who are involved in the fraud in the final forensic report. Come on, guys. This is pretty much easy. You need to select just one option. Answer is already given. Good, Sumit. Good, Namrata. Come on, guys. Okay. Good, Janvi. Let's see the answers. First one, report can include a section to identify those involved in fraud. This is recommendatory and in line with the appropriate practice of reporting. Second option, report should not contain details till the time it is proved in the court of law. Third one, reports can include a section to identify those involved in fraud but subject to prior approval of the board of directors of company. And fourth, report should not include a section to identify those involved in fraud as it is not permitted under SA 700. So first of all, SA 700 is not something to be referred with respect to the fraud investigation. Okay, it is applicable for the audits. So hence, SA 700 will not be applicable, and this is the wrong answer. Number two, report can include a section but prior approval of board of directors. Again, when you are doing a fraud investigation or forensic accounting related report, the name of the person involved in the fraud is is must, and it is recommendatory and in line with the practice which is being followed. There is no prior approval requirement of the board of directors. That's why it's C is also wrong, and again B is also wrong. You can mention the name till that you can mention the name because it is being done. It is recommendatory and in line with the appropriate practice of accounting or reporting. So option A is correct option. Okay, so the correct option is option A. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Yes, Sumit, that is also an independent audit report. It is not an independent audit report, I'll say. It is independent report. See, today either it's a fraud investigator or forensic accountant. Both have to comply with the requirements of independence. And when they will issue report, their report will also contain that they have issued report and they have complied with the requirement of the independence. They have complied with the independence requirement. And accordingly, you can say that their report was independent report. But terming that as an independent audit report, that will be incorrect. Any doubts? Any doubts, guys?
Ashok ji? Video allow karo.
Any doubts, guys? Any doubt? Just a minute. Hello. So, guys, we have with us Karuna ma'am today here. So, she will be also providing you some insights on this particular topic. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, dear students. Hope you are enjoying. So first we have covered questions on all the topics. We have our lectures, the important topics we have covered in that. And now we are having 3 sessions, particularly for covering important question of RTP, mock test paper and previous examination question paper. Hope you are able to solve it because we have already told you, you just be prepared. And now we are also having 2 more classes wherein I'll be taking session with Harshad. So we both will be taking you through. Question by question, we will be telling you where you are doing a mistake, where marks are deducted, what kind of mistakes you are doing and how we can get more and more marks, right? So for that, you need to prepare the syllabus properly. You need to solve the questions which we have covered, and whatever topic we have covered, you please be prepared so that you can understand what is the question and you can practice with us. and we'll be telling you for which mistakes, how many marks you are losing and how you can get more and more marks, right? So step marking, and with the help of case scenario, we'll practice integrated case scenario based MCQ, then topic by topic questions also, or we can take one test paper so that we can tell you how to read, how to plan the time, how to manage, and how to read the question carefully and what is being asked, which is generally misunderstood by the students and the mistakes they generally commit, right? So for that, we'll be providing you guidance. And for that, you need to be prepared thoroughly. In next class, you should be ready with your doubts, and you should be prepared for all the topics which we have covered here. Okay, so gear up for that. And these 2 sessions will be really, really very, very helpful for you in getting more marks. The marks which you are losing, you will be able to identify where you are lacking and where you are losing the marks. So just think you are sitting in the examination condition and how to read the question and what kind of mistakes we are committing. And we'll be telling you why you are losing marks and for which step, how many marks are there. So how you can get more and more marks and you can be getting good marks in auditing. Fine. So for next session, you please come with full preparation so that maximum participation can be from your side also. For both the session, I'll be with Harsha, and we both will be taking you through the questions, maximum questions we will try to cover, and whatever your doubts will be there, we'll be trying to cover those doubts also in that session, right? So for that, to take maximum benefit, it's very, very important that you have prepared thoroughly and you have gone through all the lectures and questions which we have covered till now. So please be prepared so that in next 2 lectures we'll get maximum benefit. And the purpose is, yours purpose is also to get good marks, and our purpose is also same, right? So as I already mentioned that we are here for hand-holding, but now you have to be with us, right? So you need to prepare, you need to make your notes, you need to develop writing habit. What kind of mistakes we are doing, we will be able to analyze and we will be able to improvise the same, right? So for that, first you need to prepare, then only we can work on the same. Okay? So with this, in next 2 days, in next 2 classes, we both will be taking you through audit papers. So we'll need your help. Be prepared, prepare all the topics, and the topics in wherein you find difficulty, how to cover whatever is your doubts, you can ask in those 2 sessions. And please participate at your maximum level, right? With this, I think, wish you all the best. Thank you. Over to you, Harshit.
Thank you.
If you want to add on something, you can please.
Yeah. So guys, one important thing is the more you will write for any of the question, you will remember. So most of the today also we were getting some doubts on how to remember the clause number, how to remember the section number. Please, you need to write it down. When you will write an answer of a particular clause of a particular section, you will remember that. Written things are more remembered. So by practicing, by writing, you will remember, and there is, there will be no need to mug up the numbers or the section number or the clause number.
Yes.
So please, yes.
Yeah. And it's very, very important because specific mark allocation is also for that. So you need to develop this habit of remembering the clause number, section number, right? Conclusion part also you need to give, and then you need to interlink with the situation and give facts and explanation, conclusion, all the parts which are very, very important, you need to give that, right? And for audit, don't worry that it's very bulky, it's very lengthy. Just think, you are now our future chartered accountant and you are going for audit, fine? So you just think from that perspective that yes, you have passed out and now you are going for audit, how you will proceed. If you will be that way, if you will understand, then your interest will be maximum and you will understand the concepts and the procedures thoroughly, and you will be able to understand if this kind of situation will happen, then how I will proceed, how I will manage, what I need to do, what is the guidance as per standard, what is the guidance given in legislation like Companies Act, then our RBI, NBFC, whatever guidance is being given, that we need to consider that, yes, what we need to take care while doing such kind of audits. So just think that with that perspective that, yes, I am now chartered accountant, I am now passed out. Now, how I need to pursue when I'm going for audit? What are the steps I need to take? Right? So take interest that way. It's not a boring subject. You can make it more practical, more interesting. Okay, it's in your hand. You can make your own flow charts, your bullets, your noting points. Then, right, one more important thing, whatever you are studying, whatever you are preparing, or we are covering many questions. So whichever question you find that it is very, very important, it's covering many provisions. So you note down at one place while revising. You need to take care that, yes, you're not searching for that question and it's already being noted at one place. And you're referring the question and answer from that place. It should be noted in your diary at one point, at one place, so that your time is not wasted. Because for examination time now, we have duration, very less duration for revision. So our working should be in such a way that we have prepared and we are able to revise in short duration of time. Okay, so for that we need to start preparing now. If we are preparing now, then we'll be able to revise in that 2 days time also. Fine. So yeah, Harshad, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely correct. So guys, please focus on all these things that will really help you. Also, do let us know your feedback if you have anything, if you want something additional, if you want questions of a particular topic, please let us know. We are there in these 2 sessions to help you out and to provide you that particular thing. So yes, that's it from my side also. So thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you to Harshad, you also, and thank you to each and every participant, every student. Please be prepared, and in next 2 classes, we'll be taking you through for whole auditing subject questions, right? So be prepared and be ready with your notes and your doubts and your queries, and you need to write the answer also so that you can analyze where you are lacking, right? All the best. Thank you. Thank you, Harshad. Thank you, team.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.